Hey there, back again with another tutorial. What we're going to need today, you're going to need a couple of cups, 2 to 3 cups of clean water, and then we're going to use a number 4 or a number 6 round brush, whichever one you have. It's a round brush, and then also a detail brush, the smallest brush you can find with like a nice little pointy end. That's all we're going to need are those 2 brushes today, and lots of clean water. So I don't know if you've seen these before, but they look like gossamer or like butterfly wings. And you can kind of see through to the next layer of petals. And so I wanted to show you how you could do that. It's really actually super easy. It's one of the easiest flowers you can do. So what I did was I got a good amount of paint on my brush, and it's pretty wet too. So when I put it down on the brush, it's going to be pretty opaque, but it's also going to be like a little puddle. So it doesn't need to be super dry. Don't be afraid to put a bunch of water in it. Okay, so I've got, and you can use whatever blue or purple or whatever, whatever color you want. I'm just using, I don't even remember what the number is on this blue that I'm using, but you can just use anything you want, as long as it's, I will tell you, with darker colors, you just have to move a little quicker. So what I'm about to do here is I'm taking water and a clean brush, and I'm just moving it around that little dot to create just an interesting looking leaf. And then what I'm doing is I'm flooding that leaf with water. So I'm going to repeat that process up here. Just use a little water to push it around, make a shape that I like, and fill it in. And then I'm going to take some more clean water and just flood that leaf, or that petal rather. And you can shape it too while you're doing this, but I love this part because you're flooding it and it's starting to look really wispy and dreamy. The next thing though, what I'm going to do is I cleaned off my brush, and then with it being pretty dry, I scoop up, I'm lifting like we talked about in the first week of class with some of our techniques. I'm using this brush to lift the paint that's there, and then just wipe it off on a paper towel, spare paint rag, whatever you got. But once I have picked up the amount of paint that I want to pick up, because I like starting off really light, I'm going to move on. So once you get that, you move on. And so the secret to doing these kind of flowers is that you have to let that first layer dry, or actually any of the layers that you're using, but you have to let the layers dry. So you're going to see I'm going to lift all the color that I want off of this petal, and then I'm actually going to move on and start creating other flowers on the page. So I used, this was kind of a run-of-the-mill blue that I used with this one. It's still dark, but, and again, you want to use darker colors because those show up better when you take the color away. It's not going to fade into the paper completely. So here's that moody blue that I love so much. I know it's not the name of it. I just call it moody blue because it just, I don't know. It makes me feel things. So I'm going to start another flower up here. Okay. And this is really dark paint. So what you want to do is move quickly. So I got another little one there. I'm like, where should I put another one? Okay, another one down here. You see, like that's a lot of paint on my brush to use that much for all 3 flowers without going back in for more paint. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take that wet brush that I've cleaned all of the excess paint off of, and I'm going to use water, just plain old water, and I'm going to move that color around. I'm going to create big, beautiful petals. And these are all from a side view. I haven't really done much from a head-on or a top-down view of these gossamer Oriental poppies. They look like gossamer to me. But you could definitely do that. Just Google, if you wanted to, you could just Google Oriental poppies, and I'm sure all sorts of angles will pop up, will come up on your search. And then you can just draw whatever little Oriental poppy you like. I just prefer this side view for something fun and quick and instant gratification. So now you see me, I'm going in and I'm filling up these leaves, or petals rather. I always call them leaves. Why do I do that? I'm filling up these petals with water, getting that moved around, because again, and you gotta move fast, because it really can, like with the darker colors, if you don't move fast enough, it will completely stain the paper and you will not be getting any of it off. This is watercolor paper is just good like that. All right, so now I'm dragging and lifting on this little one first. Oh, look how beautiful that color is. And see, you'll see that there's actually still a pretty good little dark mark on the bottom of that flower, which is fine because it looks fine to do that. But like I said, with darker colors, you gotta move fast or else it'll start to really stain and soak in. Okay. Lift, lift, lift. And I love these. You'd think it would be tedious, but because you're moving on to other flowers while you're letting other things dry, this is just a really fun, quick, like I said, an instant gratification piece of art. It's really, and it's so pretty. Okay, so now that I've lifted the paint that I want to off of these flower petals, I'm gonna go back to my light blue poppies, and I was just testing it with my finger just to see if it was dry, and it is. So what you want to do is the same process over and over, but this time start from the same point where the petals come out of the flower, where the bud would have been, but go ahead and make different shapes. Make oblong shapes, make tiny little petals or humongous petals. It really is just about playing around and seeing what looks good to you. All right, so once again, fill that up. Now I'm going to put a ton of water in there. Flood it as much as I can. Okay, because what you want to do is use that water to loosen up the paint so you can get it off easily. And since you just laid it down, it'll work better. Okay, all right. So now I'm gonna go in with my dry brush and I'm just gonna pick it up. And just do it over and over until you're satisfied with the color that's left over after you've lifted. Yep, this is starting to get really happy. Oh, look. Yes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you can start to see those petals behind the one you just painted on top of it. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh. Yay! This is my favorite part. Okay. And seriously, you just keep going until you're happy with the color of the layer that you're working on. And then just move on to whatever's dry next. Now, this was actually my favorite part of this tutorial. I love this color blue, And I love using multiple colors of blue in this kind of project just because, I mean, it'll look beautiful monochromatic, absolutely. But I do love having blues, you know, or colors in the same family on the page, especially when they're really thin and delicate like this. It just gives it more interest and more depth when you're looking at the entire work as a whole picture. Okay, I cannot remember what the name of that color is or that number, but I'll put that in the description if you'd like me to. So I'm going back up with this indigo blue, so pretty, gosh, and it fades out just into the dreamiest little, like, almost lavender color, honestly. It's like a periwinkle. I love it so much. All right, I'm just filling it with water again. Remember, you just want to use this, don't be afraid to use a ton of water. Just make sure that your page, the bottom layer that you just did is absolutely dry before you start on another one, because they will run together and then it won't give you the desired effect. But since these are dry and this was good to go, I went ahead and made a little petal here, smaller than the rest of them, and I'm getting up every bit of the paint that I want to get. And look how it's turning out. Woo! Yes! It's just so cool. This is one of my favorite techniques. Oh, and I am obsessed over this petal. Look at this, guys. So when this comes off, it is just the coolest thing because you see all 4 layers represented, and it's so stinking pretty. Almost reminds me of a butterfly a little bit. Okay, so it's looking really good. Just about done here. So what I want you to do is finish up with whatever petal you're on. If you've been following along, just get your brush cleaned up, get that little extra bit of paint off that you like, I don't want it to be so dark. That's what I just did here. So here goes that. All right, and what we're going to do now is we're going to take our little liner brush. So the one I told you, whatever smallest brush you have, or you can actually use, like, if your the big brush you're using has a pointy tip on it, just a really light hand will create a cool line for what we're about to do next. So anything you can find that will work. Let's see. All right, and so this is my, I think this is a 0 or a number 1 brush in my set, and I just dipped it in a little bit of the black watercolor paint, and you can see with a very light hand I'm just creating stems here. Okay. And it dries so pretty. I love it. It looks dreamy and, you know, abstract and surreal, whatever you want to call it. I just love the way that those look. These stems are so cool. Oh, and if you're not making sound effects, you're not really painting. That's a rule, just so you know. Alright, and make sure to, you know, if you need to, go back over if it's too light. Also, don't be afraid to make it look like it's, you know, it's got a little bit of the bulb left on the bottom, or bud rather. Give it a little, you know, a little base for the stem to come off of. See? Oh, this is so satisfying. And don't worry if your lines aren't straight. Mine are definitely not straight at all. They don't look perfect, but that's what makes this so beautiful. And you can do what I did if I didn't get enough paint and water on my brush, so I just went back and got more. Like I said, these don't have to be perfect. Okay, just making sure I'm not bleeding over the... See, and I moved the paper and it's got a little twist in it. That's okay. It still looks cute, I think. And this little bud is getting his own little stem. Love this. So fun. I have my little periwinkle blue flowers up here in the corner. And down she goes. Again, if you don't have a tiny brush like I do, just very lightly use the very tippy tip of your number 4 or number 6 brush. This should be good. As long as it's a round brush, it should have a tip on it. It should come to a tip, so you can use that if you don't have a detailed brush. So this is a good point to make. Just wanted to let you know, you can always go back and lighten something. Like, I didn't love how dark that particular stem was because I was a little more heavy-handed than some of the other stems. So I just went in with some water and just lightened it up a bit. That's it. Didn't make it any wider necessarily, just lightened it up a little bit with water. Okay, and that's it, my friends. The last little thing that we're going to do is sprinkle some water on this bad boy. Some diluted paint, basically. So what I want you to do, if you want to do this with me, just get a little bit of paint on your brush and a lot of water. Okay. And what you're going to do then is just take it and use another brush or your finger and tap, tap, tap. Well, and after you have finished tapping, it looks like we are done. And I just wanted to show you something else really quickly. This is a great way to create your own greeting cards, your own stationery, or even like bookmarks. So what I have done in the past is do really quick little 1.5 hour, 2 hour workshops and creating greeting cards, stationery, things like that. And one of my favorite things is to create bookmarks with this particular flower on it. I don't know why, it's so soothing to see this little flower on a bookmark, but this is one I just did recently with a really great quote on it from Margaret Atwood. In the end, we'll all become stories. And I just thought that was such a beautiful thought to go with such a beautiful flower. So y'all please enjoy the rest of your week and weekend, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.